Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show, our Thanksgiving special. We cover all your national sports and especially all your Northeastern professional sports, New York, Boston, and Philly. We're on Wednesday to Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. You can see us live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We also got an Instagram account at Jack and Max Sports. We're on a Twitter account at Macman McGrath. We also have a great website. If you get a chance, go and check it out. It's at macandjacksports.com. It's called Mac Sports Insiders. Like, follow, share, and subscribe where you can to keep us growing. I'm Mac with my co-host Jack Hirsch, the legendary boxing writer and former president of the Boxing Writers Association, and the show's historian gatekeeper. Happy Thanksgiving, Jack.
Happy Thanksgiving, Max. Sports never takes a holiday. Here we are working, talking sports.
Yes, we are. In fact,
when you say we do it 365 days, yeah, we do take off Monday and Tuesday, but we're studying, watching all the games and everything available.
Yeah, and trying to make the show better behind the scenes as far as production and promotion. So it's good that we do have those 2 days off. So we're going to go to our quick sports update before we start getting into the Thanksgiving games. We got, just to let everybody know, we got Iceman John Scully who will be coming in at 8:30 to bring us up to date with boxing news. And then at 9, Jack, we have two of our NFL insiders. We got Byron Williams, our NFL analyst, and Keith Engle, who's the host of TGI Sports Talk, will be coming at 9 o'clock. And all four of us will take the show home for the last hour. So this sports update is brought to you by Fanatics. If you want to get the clothing of your favorite teams, jerseys, hats, all gear, we have the place for you. It's Fanatics. Just go to macandjacksports.com website called Mac Sports Insiders and click on their link. It brings you right to their store just in time for Christmas. Order for your special someone's birthday, or just treat yourself to your favorite team's clothing and gear. That's macandjacksports.com. The website name Mac Sports Insiders. Click on the Fanatics link for all your team's clothing and gear, Jack. So let's hit the sports updates real quick, and then we'll push on to some of the great Thanksgiving games of the past. We'll talk about them a little bit, and the Iceman should be ready around 8:30. So the Ravens in Pittsburgh has been moved to Sunday because of COVID. We're still going to talk about the game today in the second hour, like it's still on for today, and then we'll touch back on it again Sunday. But it's been moved to Sunday. Some of the Pittsburgh players aren't happy about it, but that's what it is with the COVID. Jim Hannafin dies at 87. I remember him when there was a St. Louis Cardinals, Jack. He was the head coach of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah.
Some years they were pretty good. He was also the offensive line coach for the Rams during their Super Bowl years. A great coach. Sad to see him go. But 87 years old, Jack. You lived a full life for sure. The Heat, Adebayo, am I saying there's Adebayo?
Yeah.
Adebayo. He signs a $163 million extension with the Miami Heat, Jack.
I think Jimmy Butler had something to do with that because Jimmy Butler wanted him there, and he went to Pat Riley. And Jimmy Butler, especially in the playoffs, he showed he's a franchise player now for the Miami Heat, and they're going to want to make Jimmy Butler happy.
I definitely agree with that. The Jags are going to bench their rookie who had a terrible game
Jake Luton, yeah.
He had a terrible game against the Steelers. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks are going to have a terrible game against the Steelers. They go to their vet, Mike Glennon. So that's all I got. I know you wanted to bring something up real quick, Jack.
Yeah, Diego Maradona, one of the all-time great soccer players, passed away, led Argentina to a World Cup. And he's a legend overseas. In the United States, his name isn't thought of as big because soccer's not that big in this country. But in his part of the world, Diego Maradona, very controversial type player, very charismatic to say the least. but a great, great player. And he was rated by some alongside the great Pele is, arguably the greatest soccer player of all time. And he passed away, and a true icon, as I said, in his part of the world, especially Argentina.
So, Jack, we're gonna go right to Ain't Gonna Happen today. It's gonna be like a football version of Ain't Gonna Happen. And this, believe it or not, Jack, somebody wanted to sponsor your segment, Jack. So this is where Jack. Yes,
my talk.
Yes, sir. So
they know talent when they see it.
Yes, they do.
Right.
And we're happy to bring aboard our newest sponsor, BST Sports and Breaks.
Whoa. Someone wanted to sponsor my segment with the initials BS.
Yeah, BST.
Okay, I can't go further than that. Okay. I'll leave that alone. Okay.
Okay. Well, I mean,
if you tell you what bothers me, Mac, I know I'm cutting in. You want to finish? You'll finish the segment because the sponsors are more important. What you have to say to them, get their name out there. But all commentators, everyone has to be held accountable. We say things, and then they're in the past, and then when they don't happen, we don't have to explain why they didn't happen, why we were wrong 9 consecutive times.
Right.
So let's start getting accountability for myself, for you. Okay. Let me hear about us. Our sponsors are great. Let's hear about them.
Yes, for the best in wax and straight to the packs, BST Sports Cards has it all, Jack. Join the phenomenon with the best sports card breaks in the business, bstbreaks.com. And guess what, Jack? Get $10 off select breaks and box when you enter the code MACJACK. That's MACJACK at checkout on the BST Sports website. Also, in every spot purchase from now to December 31st, get you entered in their end of 2020 giveaway. Some prizes, Jack, include $500 in break credit, multiple authenticated jerseys, boxes, and more. This is a huge thing, and you know what's great, Jack? They give back to their community. Over 100 winners announced on December 31st. More details on their website. Don't forget to put in the code MACJACK, MACJACK, at checkout to receive a special discount from BST.
That's cool stuff. Yeah.
Let me finish, Jack. Happy holidays from BST and Mac and Jack at bstbreaks.com. Breaking live on multiple platforms daily. So that's our new sponsor, Jack. Sponsoring It Ain't Gonna Happen. And I don't know about you, Jack, but I always collected sports cards and memorabilia growing up as a kid. I got so much stuff in there. In fact, some days I'm going to start bringing them out and start taking pictures and putting it on Facebook so everybody can see all the collectibles I got. It's really fun. I got some really old and rare cards and magazine covers, and maybe I'll share that with the viewers.
Memorabilia is such a great memory that we have following sports over the years, and it's a real treasure, and it's the type of thing that always goes up in value.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, people love sports, and people, of course, love memories of their favorite teams and players doing great. So, guys, go over to Mac and Jack sports.com, the website Mac Sports Insider, and our store page. And you can click on BST Cards and Breaks link and bring you right to their store and go ahead and place your order. So, Jack, it ain't going to happen. So let's start off with Matt Stafford will throw for over 300 yards today, Jack.
Ain't going to happen. How do you like that? The Lions, I mean, because they're playing at home, it's Thanksgiving. People always get juiced up about the Detroit Lions, but the truth of the matter is they haven't been that good on Thanksgiving. I know we'll talk about that a little later, but they haven't won on Thanksgiving for a few years yet. I think it was 2016. In Houston, for all their troubles and their 3-7, they have a halfway decent defense when they show up to play. And on Thanksgiving, I'm sure they have a nationwide audience watching them, so their defense will be up to the task. I think they'll keep them a little under 300 yards. Ain't
So,
going to happen.
so let's follow it up. The Detroit Lions will beat the Texans, Jack.
Ain't going to happen. The
Okay.
Lions are a mess. When you lose 20-0 to the Carolina Panthers and Teddy Bridgewater, the starting quarterback, isn't even playing, I mean, that's not good. I
Yeah.
mean, Matt Patricia, I mean, people are getting tired of it, okay? Every time the Lions look like they might take a gentle step forward, they don't. And it's a cliche that a team is better than what their record indicates that they are. But the Texans at 3-7 are, if you want to eliminate their first 4 games when they were 0-4 under Bill O'Brien, they're 3-2 since then, since Romeo Crennel came on board. So if you split the Texans season up and think of them as post Bill O'Brien this season, they're 3-2 team. So that, which isn't bad. So I think they're going to edge the game out and beat the Lions today.
Okay.
I said ain't going to happen. Lions ain't going to beat the Texans.
Ain't gonna be the Texans. Okay, the Redskins will sack quarterback Andy Dalton will sack him more than 4 times, Jack.
Ain't going to happen. I know they have a excellent front, the Redskins. That's the strength of their team. But I kind of feel this is it for the Cowboys. They're given an unexpected gift. They could be in first place soon out of nowhere. But if you look at the Cowboy personnel in the beginning of the season, or what it was matched up to the other teams in the East, everyone said the Cowboys had the best personnel. They've had injuries like the other teams. They're getting some of their guys back. I have to believe, especially with the concussion that Andy Dalton suffered early in the year because they didn't really block for him that well. They're going to be pretty effective blocking from them. You said 4 times.
4 times.
Ain't going to happen. Maybe 2 or 3, but 4 times ain't going to happen.
Well, Jack, Dallas has had best personnel in the East for the last 4 years, and that hasn't helped them at all. Zeke Elliott will run for over 100 yards today against the Redskins, Jack.
Going to happen because for Dallas to win the game, I know Andy Dalton could pass, and I expect Lamb to have a good game there, wide receiver. But Ezekiel Elliott, yeah, I look for him to have a big game. The fumbleitis problem he had early in the year, I would think he would be over that. And I look for Ezekiel Elliott to have a really top-of-the-line game today. Going to happen.
Okay, we're gonna cover this team a little bit today, even though they're not playing, Jack. And this will count on Sunday. Baltimore's quarterback Lamar Jackson will run for 100 yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, Jack.
I'm going to say going to happen because the Steeler front seven's going to have him running for his life. He's going to have no choice but to run. And I got to believe there's going to be a couple of times where he is going to take off on long runs out of necessity because they're chasing him out of the pocket. He's very mobile. And the best way for Lamar Jackson to spark a team sometimes is just to do it solo. Just take off, use his legs. He's the best running quarterback in the NFL, so it's going to happen.
Okay, and remember, folks, we're covering this now because Baltimore and Pittsburgh were supposed to play, so this will count for Sunday. If the Ravens lose, they won't make the playoffs, Jack.
Going to happen, meaning they won't make the playoffs. Going to happen. Because if they lose to the Steelers, and there's a good chance they will, it's snowballing. I mean, they're 6-4 now. They're then going to be 6-5. There's already turmoil between Lamar Jackson and how the offensive coordinator's calling the plays, and the team is slowly unraveling. I could see them winding up being an 8-8 team if they lose to the Steelers. So it's going to happen. They're not going to make the playoffs if they lose to the Steelers. What's the term? If they don't make it, it ain't going to happen or going to happen?
Right. You said it right, Jack. If they lose the game, they're not going to make the playoffs.
Right.
And I think I might even agree with you on that, Jack, as surprising as it sounds coming out of my mouth because, they were one of the favorites to go to the championship this
You
year.
picked them to win it all, Mac.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's
Not looking good. I picked the Chiefs to win it all. I picked the Chiefs to beat the Rams in the Super Bowl. I'm looking pretty good now.
Oh, the Chiefs was a hard
The
pick.
Rams are starting to peak.
Yes, they are.
And the Chiefs are the Chiefs.
Exactly. And Pittsburgh's the only undefeated team in the league right now. So we're going to go over in the past, Jack, about some of the great games that were played. And there were a lot of great games played on Thanksgiving Day over the years. One coming to mind was when Lawrence Taylor came off the bench in the second half against the Detroit Lions and raised all kinds of cane back in 1982. He sacked the quarterback. He stripped the quarterback. He ended up causing a fumble where Van Pelt went ahead and recovered. He ended up pressing the quarterback, so Harry Carson got an interception. And then near the last play of the game, Jack, on the fourth quarter, when the Detroit was driving, they were down around the 10-yard line. The quarterback for Detroit threw the ball. Taylor stepped in front of the wide receiver and took it to the house. And that was a preview of how great Lawrence Taylor was going to become. And I don't know if you remember that game or not, Jack.
Yeah, well, not that particular game. I remember, obviously, a lot of Lawrence Taylor games. And he created unbelievable havoc. Like, no one would cover as much of the field as Lawrence Taylor. I mean, he would be all over the place, sideline to sideline, rushing the quarterback, backing off. I mean, there's never been anyone like him.
Very true. This team was around for only 1 year, Jack, before they ended up going bankrupt. The team moved to Kansas City and became the Chiefs. But the American Football League Dallas Texans played in their first year, and they played in the Thanksgiving game when Papa Bear George Halas was the head coach. George Halas was so confident, he put in his B team. He didn't even start his starters. And the Texans jumped out to an 18-point lead and held on to win it even after he put his starters in. And that just goes to show you, Jack, when you try to embarrass people, especially professionals, anything can happen, and it did happen.
Yeah, I mean, things were done very weirdly in the NFL back in the day. I mean, I don't know whether you recall, they used to have a consolation game for the two teams that came short of making it to the championship game that would lose in the semifinals. They would play a consolation game the week after the NFL championship game. And Vince Lombardi hated that game. I think he had to play in it 1 year after they lost to the, if I'm not mistaken, one of the seasons. But he says it's a game for losers, played by losers. He just absolutely hated the game that the NFL forced upon the teams.
In 2004, Peyton Manning throws for 6 touchdowns versus Detroit, carving up the Lions in a 41-9 victory. It hadn't been done since Bob Greasy in a Thanksgiving Day game, Jack. Peyton Manning, of course, we know, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and had a huge game on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you wonder what those players do who play the visiting teams that play the Lions. What did they do for Thanksgiving, Mac? Good question. Did they get on the plane after the game, change and leave the way they normally do after a game? Do they all have Thanksgiving together, one of the hotels, and leave the next morning? I mean, what kind of Thanksgiving is it for them, for the players? Do they skip it all together? Because I'm sure a lot of them want to get home after the game.
I don't know. Maybe they bring their family with them, Jack. I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. I'm looking into that. The Lions stunned Lombardi's Green Bay Packers as they sacked Bart Starr for 11 times, forced 5 turnovers, giving the Packers their only loss for the season.
Wait. Did I hear that right? You said that you must have gotten wrong information, Mac. You did it again. You have to change your prescription and your glasses. It's that one time, and you read it as 11. They're not going to sack. I can't believe
11 times, Jack, forced 5 turnovers. That's what it said.
with that Packer offensive line.
Yeah, you can
That's
check
like,
it out if you want, but I'm telling you, that's what the site said. 11 times they sacked Bart Times, forcing 5 turnovers, and they beat the
wow.
Packers. Only lost that year.
Packers had a great offensive line anchored by Jerry Kramer, and I just can't see it.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, 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 wow.
In 1974, Jack, and I remember watching this game. Clint Longley comes in at quarterback
Yeah.
as Roger Staubach goes out with a concussion, beats the Redskins 24-23 with a huge bomb to Drew Pearson with 28 seconds left. And
I
that was,
remember that. Yeah.
yeah,
And people are fickle. They thought, oh, Luke Longley might take over for Roger Staubach. Or they
yeah,
thought he was going to be like the quarterback of the future for the Cowboys, and everyone was raving
yeah.
about Luke Longley, and he didn't last in the league long.
Well, Clint Longley ended up leaving the Cowboys that next year because he sucker punched Roger Staubach
Yeah.
in training camp, and the Cowboys got rid of him.
Yeah.
So one way to get off the team fast is to
and he showed his maturity after by saying we can continue this and fight at Madison Square Garden.
yeah, there you go.
Considering that Nate Robinson, the former NBA player, is boxing in the semifinal on the Mike Tyson undercard this Saturday, in this day and age, it would have made sense. They would have signed him up to fight there. Yeah,
Exactly. I don't know if Staubach would have went over that because he was quite the classy guy.
He was too mature.
Yeah. In 1998, the famous coin toss controversy where Jerome Bettis changes his mind while a coin is being tossed, causing the NFL to change the rule, Jack. Now you got to call the toss the heads or tails before the refs toss it. I remember that scene too, where Jerome Bettis was complaining that he called tails, or it was heads, or it became tails, and it was just a whole.
That's CoinGate. I kind of won the Mac. We got to bring an expert on flipping coins if there's such a thing. If there's a way, let's say a referee knows beforehand, they're going to know beforehand whether it's heads or tails. Can they flip it in such a way where they can make it land heads or tails? Because now you're going to be talking about ref fixing something or so on, suspicions. Yeah. People have these conspiracy theories all the time.
Jack, I know there's supposed to be a 50-50 chance, but, if you could toss heads like 6 times in a row, maybe you're supposed to be able to toss tails 6. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be 50-50. In 1997, Jack, Barry Sanders runs all over Chicago for 167 yards. An unbelievable running back, Jack.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's a shame when Barry Sanders retired. He didn't exactly communicate well, and he just kind of like disappeared and left. He's coming back a little more in the public eye now, but he was a very quiet guy. He was never caught up in the fame. He just wanted to play football, and it never went to his head. And
yeah,
very quiet individual.
I've seen some interviews with him lately. There was a great one. If you get a chance, Jack, go check it out. It's where Barry Sanders, sits down with our star running back who's been hurt and ends up going over their the same kind of running styles that Barkley and Sanders have, and it shows them running with the ball, and it's so similar. It's almost eerie, the moves they have and how they bounced off people and made people miss.
I don't believe Sanders ever suffered a serious injury in his career. I can't remember whether he did. If he did, I have no recollection of it.
Yeah, he seemed
healthy,
to. Yeah, it seemed that he stayed healthy, and it always seemed that with some of the great players the Lions have had throughout history, Sanders being one, now Matt Stafford, Megatron, they never seem to get over that hump, Jack. It seems like no matter who the coach is, it's like I don't know. The Detroit Lions have never even been to a Super Bowl.
Well, the funny thing with Jim Caldwell, when he had his 9-7 seasons, it was considered a failure that they weren't going forward, taking a getting into playoffs, making a playoff run. So they let Jim Caldwell go, and it turned out to be a step back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, I don't know why they've never been able to get it together. In 2012, your team, Jack, the Jets, and the infamous butt fumble by Mark Sanchez, who runs into his own offensive lineman and fumbles the ball. And I mean, again, he wasn't a great quarterback, Jack, but he was a good quarterback. He went to the playoffs with a couple times, I think, to the championship at least once with the Jets, right? If I'm correct.
Well, they went to the AFC Championship game for 2 years in a row.
Right.
They lost to Indianapolis and Pittsburgh those games. So, he wasn't a failure as the Jet quarterback, if you take that into account. He did have a fair degree of success, even though he's not looked upon as 10 years Jet quarterback that fondly. But it's ironic when you talk about the greatest moments in New York Jet history. You start with the Joe Namath guarantee, the Super Bowl win, and then you go right to the butt fumble.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
It's kind of ironic, yeah.
I mean, at least
Not
the Giants.
greatest memorable moments.
Yes, at least the Giants kind of worked their way up for the Meadowlands miracle where they fumbled the ball on the last play of the game, and Eagles took it up and ran it for a touchdown. At least they got a few.
That was the biggest blunder of all time. What happened in the Meadowlands with Pasarchek, the handoff to Zonka, fumbled, returned for a touchdown by Herm Edwards when all he had to do was take a knee.
Yeah,
he wanted to take a knee, but the coaching staff told him,
in fact,
John McVay, I believe it was, told him to hand the ball off. And
I mean, I even saw if you watch the film, Pasarchek's like, what do you mean hand the ball off? I mean, just take the knee, So it's really crazy. And of course, Pasarchek's the one that took the heat for that, as well as Zonka. So. I mean,
well, you know what it was? It got McVay fired also. He may have come back as coach because it showed Mac a certain ineptitude. If you can't do a simple thing like take a knee to end the game and win, if you can't even execute that play, you can't have a future with the team going forward.
And if you remember, Jack, after that, they started doing protests at Giants Stadium, burning their season tickets. I mean, it became ridiculous, which led to the hiring of George Young and then to the hiring of Bill Parcells, and the rest is kind of history, as they say. So in a couple minutes, Jack, we should have the Iceman coming on, Iceman John Scully. He's going to be coming and give us a little boxing information as he does every Thursday. He was gracious enough to come in on Thanksgiving with us. So hopefully he's up in a couple minutes, and we'll get him on. What I'd like to do real quick is take a real quick break, Jack, if you want. Go stretch your legs, and we'll be right back with John Scully, and he should be ready to go as soon as we get back from our official timeout here.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211-INFO-LINE. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah, 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I've made it clear to Matt that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving from the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're on Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10. We're here to talk about national sports, but especially, Jack, about our local Northeastern sports covered in New York, Boston, and Philly. And you can see us live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and go ahead and check out our website, which is macandjacksports.com. It's called Mac and Jack, Mac Sports Insiders. And so far, the Iceman has failed to appear, Jack. So I'm going to start going ahead and
the Iceman is cooking for Thanksgiving now. I knew that he's trying to, drum up the meals, so on. And the Iceman,
right.
I mean,
yeah, he maybe he had a little too much fun last night, Jack. So we'll see if he gets back, comes in later, and if he does come in, we'll put him right up. So, Jack, I want to talk to you a little bit about Bob Arum. You've written a lot of articles about him. You've been involved and around Bob Arum for a long time. He's one of the easily, I would say, the greatest boxing promoter of all time. Him and Don King had a little competition way back when, and Don King kind of fell off a little bit. Bob Arum still has top rank and the most popular and probably most influential promoting company as far as boxing goes right now. And there was in the last fight where he came out and he talked about, Crawford saying that he really was not happy with him, and he wasn't interested in really signing him. So he went further in. They of course questioned him about his statements. And he said he handed the promotion over to, I think it's his stepson, he said.
Todd DeBuff, yeah.
And he's totally disinterested in promoting his fights. And he said he gave a little back room information, which, kind of explained why he felt that way. He was saying that Crawford's camp was not signing a contract. They were trying to renegotiate the contract, and him not getting and Crawford not really coming out into public too much, staying behind the scenes and not, kind of self-promoting himself. And I guess it kind of makes sense, Jack. But again, isn't the promoter's job to promote the boxer in his camp?
Well, I'll tell you one thing about Terence Crawford. He's very, very quiet. And as sensational a fight as he is, you have to connect with the public. You have to do a lot of interviews. You have to promote yourself. And I'm going to tell you a little story. 2 years ago, I arranged for Terence Crawford to appear at a big boxing banquet. He shows up with his trainer, and I went through Top Rank to get this done. And then I'm told Terence Crawford and his trainer in the lobby. So I go to meet them there. And they're just, the two of them are just hanging out, and no one is coming around them. No one is recognizing Terence Crawford. Now it's the winter. He has a hat on. But if this was Sugar Ray Leonard or Floyd Mayweather, people would have been mobbing them, recognizing them immediately. And just the idea, it took a while before people finally recognized Terrence Crawford. Then they would come up to him, was very revealing. This is where the problem lies. Bob Arum does not have the other top welterweights under contract, the ones that would have marquee value that he could match Terrence Crawford against in a big fight. Errol Spence is fighting Danny Garcia on December 5th. They're under contract with Al Heyman's PBC, okay, professional boxing champion, so on. And Arum has a hard time getting name opponents for Terrence Crawford. Certainly he can't the big names. That's why he got him Kell Brook. They overpaid for the Kell Brook fight just to keep Crawford busy and happy. They gave Amir Khan $5 million, a little over a year ago to fight Terrence Crawford because Amir Khan at least had a name, but no one considered him a threat to actually win the fight. So that's where, the trouble lies. They were hoping to make a Crawford-Pacquiao fight, but for Manny to actually, if Manny took the whatever offer, that's a mega fight. But chances are, why would Manny Pacquiao want to fight a Terrence Crawford? That would probably end his career. What do you? How you doing, John? What do you think?
Yeah, John. What we're talking about was that Bob Arum came out and kind of gave a little backroom information on why he was so upset with Crawford's camp and the management that they were actually not signing contracts, trying to renegotiate the contracts, and that that he was upset that Crawford wasn't getting out in the public enough to help promote himself. And as I asked Jack, I said, well, isn't that the promoter's job to do? Bob Arum, of course, is the biggest promoter in the country and probably in the history of boxing. And for him to come out and say that is pretty intense,
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a different day. Like back in the day, way back in the day, promoters would go to the town where the fight was, and they would put up posters on the street corners and the light poles and that type of thing. And it's a different day. But I think what he means is, like Terrence Crawford, for example. I've very rarely, and I don't even know if I've ever even seen him in a video interview. He's not utilizing social media. And I'll tell you, like honestly, it's funny, but if I was fighting, if my pro career was starting now, if this was 1988, but with the resources we have now, I would utilize it. I would know enough to be plastered everywhere I could, and I would know how to do it. And some people just don't use those resources. When I was a kid, I was friends with Archie Moore. Archie Moore is, one of the all-time great fighters of all, ever. And he used to tell me, and he used to give me examples of what he did. And he said, you have to be friends with the media. You have to, he would send media guys. He would remember when their birthday was, and he would send them a message, "Hey, happy birthday!" And he would do stuff like that. Be friendly with these guys because he knew that they were the gateway to exposure, making more money and being more visible. And these guys today, I think they just think it's supposed to happen without doing the work. The fighters right. Expect the money to just roll in because they're good. And and I understand, and I tell guys I work with, I say, listen, when you do an interview, don't just say, yes, I feel good. They go, how do you feel about the fight coming up? And I've seen interviews literally where it'll be, hey, how do you feel about the upcoming fight? I feel good. And I'm like, really? Like, I feel good? That's it? That's how you feel about this upcoming big fight? You feel good?
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I want to comment on that, John. John, you make such a great point. I recently did an interview with a young fighter. I'm not going to mention his name. Most people haven't heard of him. Even hardcore boxing fans wouldn't have heard of him. He's located in California, And the only reason I did the interview because a buddy of mine is in the business, is involved with him. So he asked me to, so I figured I'd do a favor. I speak to the fighter. He's 21 years old, and the answers were like pulling teeth, like 2-3 word answers. Finally, I stop and I say, look, this is off the record. You've got to do better, okay? This isn't the way you do it, okay? I shouldn't be straining to ask you all these questions and so on. You've got to expand a little bit. And I'm saying this for your own good. I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. Even though he thanked me for it and he was sincere, I'm sure, and made more of an effort, the answers were still not long enough to satisfy me. He wasn't giving me anything. And my attitude was, I don't want to speak to this guy down the road. It's not personal. But it was like pulling teeth, you know. And you think he would be, you want him to be happy to get his name out there.
Well, and John, before you go on, let me remind everybody, this is the Iceman, John Scully, multiple Golden Glove champion, middleweight, light heavyweight pro contender for the title, ESPN analyst and trainer of champions. And also, we're happy to have him here every Thursday when he comes on. Great insight, and happy Thanksgiving, John, before we go any further.
Happy Thanksgiving, John.
You too. Yes, you too.
Okay, so Jack and you both realize that in today's world, you don't have to, set up interviews with writers like you used to have to, or media people. You got social media out there that is crazy, where, as long as you keep posting on any platform, you're going to get views and you're going to get people interested. And I think you're both right that Bob Arum is a little upset that he's not trying to help promote himself when he has to actually pay people a lot of money to fight him. And that's crazy. Yeah.
Terrence Crawford should be famous. He should be super famous. He should be talking and I always tell fighters, in the ring and out of the ring, you have to be an actor. You have to, in the ring, you always have to look in control. One of my stock lines, I tell fighters, I say, listen, if you throw a jab and you stumble and you do a triple somersault and land right on your head and then roll over and lay flat on your back with your arms out, you have to act like you meant that. You meant for that to happen. You wanted that to happen. And then you stand up and you continue what you're doing. When you're doing interviews, you have to wake up. You have to wake up. You say, okay, I'm ready. I'm going into battle here. I'm going to answer these questions. And like I say, I a lot of print interviews. I read the interview. I'll print them. I'll read them, and you'll see it'll be one line question, one line answer. One line question, one line answer. And it's almost comical. I'm like, are these guys serious? Like, what? Why don't they hear themselves? Like I say, the best one I saw, the guy was like, how do you feel about the big upcoming fight on pay-per-view? You're a pay-per-view fighter. I feel great.
Like, you know what it was, like, John? What ticked Arum off a bit, and I can understand this. According to him, Terrence Crawford's people delayed signing the contract for the Kell Brook fight till after the Lopez-Lomachenko fight. They wanted Top Rank to use the Lopez-Lomachenko platform to promote Terrence Crawford's next fight to get his name out there. But let me ask you this, your opinion of this. This is what I would do if I was handling Terrence Crawford, if I was his promoter, manager, whatever. Terrence Crawford is so good. He can beat mediocre guys in the sleep for the most part. As long as he trains, he doesn't have to be mentally up for some guys. He's just going to beat them on talent. What do you think of this as a gimmick? Old school stuff. You have a press conference that Terrence Crawford is going to fight once a month for the next year. Now, some of the purses aren't going to be that high, but at the end of 12 months, they're going to be substantial. That would get his name out there, unlike any other fighter. It would be a takeoff of Joe Louis's Bum of the Month club, but they call it Opponent of the Month. Something a little different. And I kind of like that once a month, and no one's going to beat him unless they're throwing him in perhaps with a top of the line guy like Errol Spence, but that wouldn't be part of it. In this way, that's how you bide your time rather than take off 6 months and then fight someone who everyone knows you're going to beat and then take off another 6 months. What do you think of that?
I like it. That goes back to when fighters took fights to keep busy and stay sharp. And I've talked about this many times. Fighters don't do that. Like you take, and even De La Hoya was doing it. Like De La Hoya didn't fight unless it was a big fight. And Mayweather, it had to be on TV. It had to be a major fight. James Toney, if you look at James Toney's record, in between his big fights, he would fight, 6 weeks earlier before a big fight, he would fight a 10-round non-title fight. And his fights were tough. Like he would fight guys like Ricky Thomas and Danny Garcia, the middleweight. He would fight tough fights to keep busy. And James Toney was fighting 5 times a year, 6 times a year as world champion. They don't do that now. So Crawford, he would have to fight because people would price themselves out, to be that guy because they know they're not going to win. So they'd want big money. And I just wish guys would go back to actually taking fights to stay sharp and improve their skills and their visibility. They won't do that. Fighters today, even guys who are just on the way up, like a Gervonta Davis, for example. I don't think Gervonta Davis would be open to taking fights to keep busy and keep his skills sharp. It's a different mentality now. These guys are reaching a point where they only want to fight if they're on big-time TV for big-time money. And
you said the best mentality, John. People don't realize, Mac, the great Sugar Ray Robinson, his long winning streak got broken by Jake LaMotta. He loses a tough 10-rounder to Jake LaMotta, and Robinson even got knocked out of the ring in that fight. He fights LaMotta in a rematch 3 weeks later and beats him, but in between that, he has a fight.
Yeah.
He has a fight in between the 3 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, the records today compared to the records of the past, like a Willie Pepin, it's just not even close. I mean, it's not even close to the way it used to be. Hey, John, I want to get to Gilbert Ramirez talking about your fighter a little bit. He said he's targeting Dimitri. Is it Bivol? Am I saying it right? And your fighter, Beterbiev, former super middleweight champ Ramirez. He's fighting Alfonso Lopez December 19th. What do you think about him? You think he could give your fighter a little challenge if he does come for you?
Well, the problem is a guy, generally speaking, moving up from super middleweight to fight Arthur. I mean, that's a tough spot. The light heavyweights have proven not to be nearly strong enough to deal with Arthur. A guy who's a natural 168 coming up, unless he's super, super, super skilled. You're talking Roy Jones type of stuff. I don't know. 12 rounds.
Ramirez didn't make weight in his last fight, so that indicates maybe he's more of a true light heavyweight, or maybe he was just lazy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, against anyone in the world. I mean, right now, and I'm not a guy. I've never been involved with any fighter where I'm like, he's going to beat everybody. There's nobody that can beat him. I know that's not true. There's possibilities all the way around, but just in general terms, Arthur against anyone right now at this point, 12 rounds is like 100 rounds trying to last with this guy.
We had Joe DeGuardi on the show last week, and he promotes a pretty good light heavyweight in Joe Smith. What I like about Joe Smith, he holds down a full-time job in construction. I mean, at what point do you train full-time? And then he goes to the gym at night. And this is a guy already you would think would be, at this point, at least for a while, make boxing his full-time thing. But yet he's working, and that's a tough job to be in construction all day and then go to the gym. I mean, how do you manage that?
Yeah, no, he's, I respect that 100%. He's an old school guy, and I actually met him at a fight a couple years ago. His family, his brother was there, and really, really nice people. Like you could see they're like a real American family. They're just cool people,
Yeah.
down to earth. The kid's a worker. He's a regular kid. He fights, and then he goes back to the neighborhood and,
Yeah.
hey, Joe, how you doing? You know, and he's picking up the mail, you know. You know, he'd be a great fight with anybody because he comes to fight. He's big and he's strong. But, you know, Arthur's all those things and more. You know,
Mac,
so,
I just want to say very quickly a funny story. We're working. There's this fighter, former IBF Mac junior welterweight champion Jake the Snake Rodriguez. He fights on ESPN. He beats Charles Murray in Atlantic City in a big upset, wins the title. The next morning, he shows up at his day job on Long Island. He put together motorcycles, and all his fellow workers were watching the fight, and they're like shocked. What the heck are you doing here? Go home, Jake. He says, you're paying me to work. The man just became a world champion, and the next morning he leaves from AC so he could make his day job. Unbelievable. I love stuff like that.
Hey, John, Sergey Kovalev is, he's coming back. He's on January 30th. He's facing the 11th rated light heavyweight Sullivan Barrera on DAZN. He's a 175-pound champion. Is he still a valid threat out there at his age and coming back?
I don't really think so. No, I think it's a good fight with Barrera, but I mean, in terms of beating Arthur, you know, psychologically, Kovalev seems to be psychologically damaged in my eyes, you know, and Arthur, I have very good inside information that Kovalev knows that he can't beat Arthur. That people who close to him have told me he knows he can't win. He knows he can't beat Arthur. Did they
spar as amateurs? Did they ever spar before?
They fought. They fought as
amateurs. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and Arthur beat him. Arthur does not like Kovalev. I'll say that much. He does not like him because when Arthur was on the way up, starting to make a name for himself, you know, because they're from the same general area, they interviewed Kovalev and they asked him about Arthur. And, you know, it would be decent. It would be normal. Just say, hey, you know, this guy's pretty good. He's on the way up. And Kovalev just said, he's okay. You know, no big deal. You know, and Arthur's the type of guy, like, he never forgets stuff like that. You know, he's like, he keeps that in his brain. So he's not a fan of Kovalev at all. So he would, at this point in the game, I don't think it would be a good move for Kovalev to even try to fight Arthur.
You get the feeling Kovalev maybe is looking to cash out.
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
Yeah. One more fighter I want to go over with you, John. Daniel Jacobs. I mean, it seems like no one likes this guy. He says he will use Gabriel Rosado as a stepping stone to get a title shot. I mean, he's 36-3 with 30 knockouts. He's going up against Rosado, who's, I guess, is still considered a contender at 25-12. He's known to be a bleeder, and Jacobs is trying to get a title shot. Why doesn't he? Do you know this guy, and why doesn't anybody like this guy, John?
Well, which, Danny or Gabriel?
Daniel Jacobs. It seems like nobody likes him.
Who, Dan? Nah, I like it. Danny's a great guy. No, he's a great guy. I'd be surprised if anybody didn't like Danny.
Is he back together with Andre Rozier, his trainer? They had over money.
I mean,
yeah, he's with Fareed Samad. I talked to his trainer just the other day, but I mean, you know, and the boxing business is what it is. You know, it's like a marriage. When people break up, you can't really take sides. You don't know what's going on. But I mean, as a person, I mean, Danny Jacobs has always been a great guy to me. And let me say, Andre Rozier. I've known Andre Rozier 25 years. Andre Rozier is a great guy as well. They're both great guys. I stay out of their business. You know, it's like two people. If they get divorced, I'm still going to be friends with both, whatever problems they had. But Danny, you know, I think, you know, people may not like that he separated from Andre because they like Andre. But no, if you met Danny Jacobs and didn't like him, something would be wrong with you more than with him.
Yeah, I mean, what I was reading, that a lot of fans say he talks a little too much. He takes easy fights. and this is what I was reading about him, and I was wondering why. I figured you'd know him and why people kind of dislike him. And then, as Shaq said, with the separation, there was some words about that too. So that's why I wanted to ask you. I thought you would know him and why people seem upset with him. I don't know.
Well, Daniel,
Yeah, I think
listen, when Danny Jacobs made his comeback after coming back from cancer, very inspirational. I was in his dressing room the night of the fight. I did a story on him for Boxing News, that one comeback fight. Someone was going to have a bond with him because of that. But late on, Danny wouldn't return certain phone calls or this or that. And, but Danny's well-spoken, and I believe he has a good heart. So on. The fight with Gabe Rosado should be an easy fight for him. He should be able, on talent alone, I would think he's too good for Rosado, but who knows?
Yeah. So John, Jack wanted me to mention this, and he was gonna if I didn't. Of course, we've got Tyson and Jones.
John knows what it is.
Oh yeah, Tyson and Jones. Can and Jack asked the question, before the show, and I agree with him. Can they even do an exhibition? Can they really do an exhibition fight where you're going to stand there and kind of fool around and not get upset? I don't see these two great champions being able to do that, John.
Well, as a fighter, regardless of what they call it, exhibition, sparring, you're going to see two guys. Maybe they'll start out with fun, but if one of them lands a good shot, or if one of them seems like he's getting over a little bit, the other guy most certainly 100% is going to want to even the score. And Mike is Mike, and I was saying, I said, how are you gonna? You can't, like, if Roy starts feeling good and starts making little moves, and Mike takes offense to it, we might see some real serious action,
Yeah.
And I guess that's part of the selling point. Like, you don't know what Mike's going to do. Yeah, you have no idea if this guy's going to try and go for the knockout in the first round or what's going to happen.
I definitely. Go ahead, John.
I think Tyson, I hope it winds up being an exhibition that goes the distance. I hope they entertain us the way Julio Cesar Chavez and Jorge Arce did not long ago, even though they were going at it hard, actually. But Roy Jones, if it were for real, if it got real at any point, as John knows, he's not durable anymore. He was knocked out a number of times. And even though I don't subscribe to the theory, the last thing a fighter loses is his punch. You might disagree, John. I don't agree with that theory. Tyson will be able to hit hard enough, to knock Jones out pretty quickly if push came to shove and it got very, very seriously, because Roy is just obviously a shell of his old self. Right. What do you think?
Oh, 100%. I mean, your chin is not going to get better with age. He's been knocked out. And I'll say this, back in the day when I saw Roy Jones the first time, we were amateurs. I had never heard of him. I did not know who he was. As soon as I saw him fight, I went home. I called my father. I went to the phone. It was in Knoxville, Tennessee. I called my father. I said, "Hey, there's this kid from Florida. This kid's unbelievable. This kid's going to make the Olympics next year." So I knew as soon as I saw him what he was, and I'd never heard his name before. But if you told me Roy Jones would get knocked out once, let alone 5 times, I never would have believed it in a million years. Now it wouldn't be a surprise. And that's where we're at. And like I say, I just hope that Roy doesn't start doing well enough where he starts feeling good, maybe starts smiling and, doing his little show, because, Mike is not the guy to say, "Hey, oh, that's cool." You're feeling good. He's not that guy. And I've seen it up close where, relatively recently, where I'm like, man, Mike's still got some fire in him.
Yeah,
so
he definitely
but let me tell you, John, if
let's
get to the 4th, 5th round, Roy might just forget himself for one moment, do a little shuffle or whatever.
No.
And,
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Roy starts feeling good, and he thinks he thinks it's innocent, like he's going to do a little ollie shuffle.
Yeah.
But a switch
Yeah.
flips, and Mike's like, "Oh, you want to do the ollie shuffle with me? Okay, that's what I want to do." So, and that's actually the selling for a lot of people. That's the selling point. Is Mike going to get mad enough to want to kill Roy Jones? And that's it.
Hey, John, we got to let you go. We got a couple guests backstage waiting to come on again. Thank you for coming in and sharing some boxing information and insight with us. We love having you on every Thursday. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
John.
All right, guys. I'll see you next week.
Take care, John.
Take care. So that's the great Iceman, John Scully. We're going to do a real quick break, Jack, maybe 2 minutes, and we're going to be right back with our special show that we got coming up with our insiders with Byron and Keith Engle, who will be coming up and giving us we're going to break down all Thanksgiving days and talk about Thanksgiving. It should be a lot of fun. People stick around. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. And let me get there. And here we go.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Info Line. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I've made it clear to Matt that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, though, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're on Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. And today, folks, we have a great show lined up for you, our Thanksgiving show. We brought in two of our best analysts that we have on our network, Byron Williams and Keith Engle, and we're going to bring them up right now. Hi, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
How you
How you
doing,
doing, guys? Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes. So I brought you guys in, and for the folks out there, they'll be back tomorrow with our weekend review, too, so they were gracious enough to come on with us today to share our Thanksgiving show with you out there. Like I said, two unbelievable analysts that we have that coming on Friday. They agreed to come in today, and we appreciate that. And guys, what we're going to do, we're not only going to break down the games, and we will break down Baltimore and Pittsburgh, even though they moved to Sunday. We'll break them down like they're playing today, and me and Jack will touch on that on Sunday. But the questions will still be relevant. And I got some trivia questions that I'm going to ask y'all too in between the game, and to help Jack out, because Jack has I think he's gone 1 for 12.
I've got 3 of the last 4 correct. If you count John Scully's boxing question, I got an NBA question.
Yes.
Right.
Well,
Got like 3 of the last 4 correct.
You did get the Jets and you did get the punters question from the Jets.
Oh, right. Steve O'Neill. Right. I got Karl Malone elbowing Isaiah Thomas, and I got the boxing one, a Golden Glove question. Yeah.
What's the Golden Glove question, Jack? I don't remember that.
With Vito Antifermo, who he lost to in 1971 in the Golden Glove Finals. Golden Glove Finals.
Those are gimmies for Jack, though, aren't they?
Yeah, there you go. And the one I got wrong kind of wasn't really asked properly. I mean, you didn't get. I mean, he asked me, guys, listen to this. You remember Fred Dwyer, the great end. He asked me which New York Giant player became this famous actor who had a sitcom. Now, Fred Dwyer played 3 years for the Giants and 10 years for the Rams. So I'm not thinking of him as a New York Giant player. I mean, if a guy plays 10 years for one team and 3 for another, you think of the 10 years who he played for, right?
Right.
Fred Dwyer, you think of him as a Ram, right? More than a Giant.
Oh, listen, guys, the question was valid. He played with the Giants, and that's all. Even if he played 1 year, he still played for the Giants.
Well,
Jack,
meanwhile, let me just say something. Not so much Keith doesn't owe me an apology here, but Byron, you and Mac do, about me talking about relief quarterbacks, like relief pitchers. Brian Flores is smart. He may have been listening to this show, because he takes Tua out when Tua couldn't get it going, and he went to his bullpen, and he brought in Fitzpatrick. And like I said, the following week, the guy could go back and start again. Whoever.
I might owe you an apology in a second, because what's the saying? If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterback. So
there you go. Thank you very much, Keith. Keith is always on my side, and for some reason,
I don't know about that, but
Byron's been chumming up to you. I don't know what's going on, if you're paying him or what's going on there.
I mean, Byron wouldn't mind as long as if the quarterback's not getting the ball to you, Byron, as a wide receiver. Don't you want the next man up to see what he could do?
Yeah, Jeff Butler threw me a couple of passes, so yeah.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Well, happy Thanksgiving to you guys. And I have to start it off right. So we're going to do our first trivia question before we hit to the game. And this one should be easy for all 3 of you. Oh, Lord. So, guys, for the trivia question, what football game started the tradition of playing on Thanksgiving Day? What 2 teams started the tradition of playing football on Thanksgiving Day? And please, no Googling.
I think if I go back to Facebook, I can find this answer.
You got to think of an old-time franchise that's been around forever. That's would be my thought.
Yeah, that would be a good thought, Jack. That would be good.
Well.
How about the Lions and the Chicago Cardinals?
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say the Lions and the Cardinals.
So the 2 teams that started the tradition of playing on Thanksgiving Day, so far we got the Cardinals and the Bears. You guys said, or the Lions?
The Lions.
Lions and Cardinals.
What do you say, Jack?
I'm going to say Chicago Bears, not Chicago Cardinals.
Okay, now the key to that question, guys, is which 2 teams started the football game, started the tradition of playing on Thanksgiving. I didn't say professional. So the first 2 that did that.
There you see what I mean, guys?
I'm with you now, Jack. I'm with you.
We were thinking NFL.
Well, I didn't say NFL. I said 2 teams, Byron. You play by the rules. It was back in 1876, Yale versus Princeton. Started, that was the coronation of the first 2 teams that played on Thanksgiving Day. So
you got guys, Yale and Princeton, playing 2-hand touch that day, and somehow it wound up in the record books.
Well, let me tell you something, Jack, and football people know this, that that Teddy Roosevelt actually changed the rules of football, college football, because people were actually dying, and he ended up getting rules for the college football players because people were dying on the field. So as we go, we got our first game, guys. It's the Lions.
Can I just add one thing? You put me in the awkward position now of having to agree with Jack about your position in these questions.
Yeah, that's some
You got to listen carefully, guys. I'm not going to give you easy questions.
Yale and Harvard.
I got all these football guys with me that are very knowledgeable, and I can't just give you the answers. I can't give it away. So we have the Lions and we have the Texans, guys. The Lions are always on Thanksgiving, it seems. The Texans have won a few games lately, and the Lions are still kind of flip-flopping around. You got Matt Stafford, and you got the exciting quarterback from Texas playing. Who do you got, Keith, and why?
I like the Lions today because, well, I'm not a big fan of the Texans, despite what they did to the Patriots last week. And Deshaun Watson's a great player. He's actually got some really good wideouts, too, as Byron can probably attest to. I've just felt this way that the Lions are just close to kind of getting over the hump and maybe saving Matt Patricia's job. They get the advantage every year of having this home game on Thanksgiving. And I just have a feeling that this is, again, they played a couple of bad games and they're due for a good one. I don't have any other reason other than the game. And they're kind of still on the peripheral of these expanded playoffs. They're not out of it yet, although they're close. So I'm with the Lions today.
How about you, Byron? What are you looking at?
I'm going with Romeo Crennel. I'm going with the Texans today because the Lions didn't even score a point last week against the Carolina Panthers. So I just can't believe that you playing professional football and you don't score 1 point, 3 points. So I'm going with the Houston Texans.
Okay, so in that saying that, and I kind of agree with. I don't know about you, Jack. Let me get your thoughts about that.
Well, I look at it. Houston with Bill O'Brien and post Bill O'Brien, they were 0-4 with Bill O'Brien, and they're 3-3 under Romeo Crennel. So if I just take it from the time Romeo Crennel took over, the attitude's better, so on, but they know they're not going to make the playoffs, so they're a real long shot, the Texans. But I got to believe Thanksgiving Day, you have a national audience there. And Byron could especially tell you, no matter how the season's going, you like to be in the limelight no matter what your record is. And to play in front of a nationwide Thanksgiving audience, I think the players maybe take it up just a small, tiny notch. And I think Houston's just a better team. And like when Byron said, when you get shut out by the Panthers 20-0, that's ugly.
Yeah, it's true, but a lot of teams have flops. I mean, they have certain games where they just, for some reason, don't show up, and they get destroyed as the Lions did. The only reason why I would take the Texans guys is because their defense. I think their defense, and I'm old school where I think defense always wins games. The offense puts the points on the board. I like the Texans defense a lot more than I like the Lions. But I'll tell you right now, if Matt Stafford gets hot, I mean, the Lions could win this, don't you think?
That's what I'm betting on, is that this is going to be one of their up weeks. Byron's right. I mean, you can't get shut out in the NFL, especially against a mediocre team like the Panthers. And but I think this is their week. Every time I've said they're done and Matt Patricia's job is history, they come back with a couple of good games. And I just feel like, again, with the national stage, Matthew Stafford could get hot and surprise. I'm not taking anything away from the Texans. Jack's absolutely right. They played great the last month. They played great last week. Their passing game is tremendous. But I've just got this feeling. Everything says I should take the Texans, like you guys. But
well, Romeo Crennel supposedly is an interim coach this year. That they're already eyeing next year who's going to coach the team. So, but Matt Patricia. I mean, I got to believe he doesn't survive this year unless the Lions rally and make at least a strong bid to get into the playoffs.
Yeah,
It's gonna
Byron.
be tough. It's gonna be tough for the Lions to even make it this year because of the Green Bay
Yeah.
Packers and Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be really tough for them to even. They won't make the playoffs.
Well, you got three teams in the West probably going to lock up three of those spots. So
I agree with that. Byron, who do you think's got the
Sorry about
better
that, guys.
receivers? I think the Lions might have the better receivers, especially after the Texans got rid of Hopkins. We know they got a playmaker, a quarterback. He can run around and make big plays. But don't you give the edge to the Lions for the receivers?
Oh yeah, no doubt. After DeAndre Hopkins went to Arizona, the Texans been just looking for some receivers. They hadn't done too much in that department for us, having good games. The receivers just been subpar. So no doubt. I think Detroit got the edge as receivers.
Man, they looked like all pros last week against my Patriots, I can tell you. Good grief.
It's funny, Mac and myself were talking, I think it was yesterday, about Calvin Johnson, Hall of Famer or not. Did he play long enough? What do you guys
He's
think?
definitely going to be a Hall of Famer. He just,
Yeah.
he's going to be like Barry Sanders. He's definitely going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I agree with Byron there. It's funny how the Lions have these guys, these great players who retire early. I wonder if there's something in the culture there that Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnsons of the world walk away well before their time is up.
Well, speaking of great players, how much does Adrian Peterson have left?
I think he's just trying to buy time. It's definitely time for him to ease into the retirement seat. And but I guess just having him on your team can bring some experience in the locker room. But you really don't need that type of player unless you're going to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that. Do you think guys that maybe players like this stick around not just because they love playing football, which I played at a very lower level, and I mean I still miss playing now and then when I go to a game. But do you think there's something inside of them that is there to still try to break records or to do things like that? Individual things is why they keep playing, Byron.
Yeah, no doubt. Frank Gore is he's up there too. So him and Adrian Peterson, they gonna be Hall of Famers. But yeah, they still holding on. But sometimes you just got to go and ease into that retirement seat. And because the game definitely passed them by. Typically for running backs, when you hit the age of 30, you really at that age to where you'll play away. They got some more players that they want to bring in and bring into their offenses. But they definitely they definitely gonna be Pro Bowlers, Hall of Famers anyway. But yeah, sometimes some guys don't know when to leave and get in that retirement seat.
Well, you mentioned Frank Gore. He's actually been the featured back for the Jets in a lot of situations. And isn't having a Frank Gore invaluable? Because that's like having a coach on the field. He's so respected. So doesn't his value way exceed what he actually just puts out on the field, the way he mentors the other guys on the team?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, even in the locker room and they've been talking to guys about their existence for his living, out of the game of football. He's been a player coach and been a mentor and all of that. So yeah, definitely. You can't put value to that because he brings so much to the table with his experience and what he know about the game of football as well as coaching and how you should apply your daily routine for as being a professional on and off the football field.
Jack, Frank could have a hand in undoing your Trevor Lawrence chase because he had some comments this week that he does not want to go out as an 0-16 on an 0-16 team. So if the Jets are going to win a game somewhere, Frank Gore may have a big.
Yeah. Does anyone know what's going on really with Sam Darnold? I mean, what's going on behind the scenes? Is he healthy enough to play? Why isn't he playing? I mean, we talk that players won't actually tank, but organizations might tank, somehow find a way. And do they think that Sam Darnold gives them a better chance of winning? Is that why Joe Flacco is in? Or are they concerned he might get injured or his value might go down? or are they just keeping him thinking he might be their quarterback of the future? I mean, I'm totally baffled by what's
I think
going
they might
on.
be looking to just keep him healthy so they have a trade chip. I mean, Flacco's probably played better than Darnold played while he was in there this year, which isn't setting the bar terribly high. I
Not
know.
with that pick six last week.
Well, again, I set the bar a little low. It's only comparing him to Darnold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Byron, did you ever get to the point in the season where you're injured? I mean, you know, a lot of players play injured. A lot of players don't even talk about it. Do you get to the point during the season when you say, okay, that's it? I mean, I had enough for this year. Just, you know, you talk to the coach or the trainer and you say, listen, I just can't go. I gotta heal up. Is there any of that point in the season where you stop?
Not from the school that I'm from, but you can probably see that now with some of the players. And, you know, the game done changed so much. And, you know, these guys have to sit out so many weeks, even if they have a concussion. Back when I played, you know, you get the smelling sauce and you get back out there. And
Yeah.
And you have different roles and for different players. Some players are a blocker. Some players are situational down situation, you know, third down players and so forth. So, you know, to me, I think you shouldn't have players on your team that have that kind of, you know, mindset to where they have to go in there and think, I'm just going to lay off. I'm not going to play this particular time. But from time to time, you do see players taking off downs and not putting 100% into the effort of that particular play.
Okay, let's push on to Dallas and Washington. And believe it or not, this has playoff implications, both with only 3 wins.
Can I just say one thing, Mac? I know I'm cutting in, but we have to make mention of it's a tragedy with Marcus Paul, the Cowboys' strength and conditioning coach, passing on. You know, what an awful thing. I don't know. Did you know him, Byron?
Yeah, I didn't know him, but I know some of the coaches and the players talk highly of him. He was very, very respected here in Dallas. You know, that's been on the news. You know, they're gonna honor him before the game today, and so it was a tragedy this week. They shut the whole day down here in Dallas because what happened unexpectedly. So, yeah, he was you know, Troy Aikman was on the media news all week talking about the relationship he had not only with the coaches but the players and how he's so highly respected in the weight room and in the off season and. You know, and his insights, you know, he's been a part of 5 Super Bowls, and he brought a lot to the table for Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, certainly a sad situation. A young man yet, and he had a lot left to give, so it's sad all the way around.
Well, condolences to his family, and, you know, of course, we all feel bad that he passed. So with the game, the Dallas versus Washington, Andy Dalton's back. He looked pretty good last week. The Washington Redskins are to me, a very formidable defense. They seem to play tough. Of course, their front 4 among the most talented in the league. And a great story with Alex Smith, who's come on and he's playing some really good football, coming back where they thought he would never even walk again. So what are you guys' thoughts, starting with you, Keith? What do you think about this matchup? It's an old rivalry. It used to be one of the best rivalries in football at one time. Do we see Dallas talent win out, as we've been talking about for the last 4 years, or do we see the Washington Redskins, who seem to be playing competitive ball under new head coach, go ahead and get the win today?
You know, you're right. The Redskins have played better than expected, I think, and that's a testament to Ron Rivera and his staff, players. And we have talked forever about the Cowboys' talent should be able to overwhelm this division, right? Especially in the mess that it's in now. The division's there for their taking. It's there for anybody's taking. And I think today they'll win again at home on Dallas. There's the added emotion, you know, of the passing of their coach, their conditioning coach. And I just think they're too good to lose today. But I've thought that many times. And this division is, you know, certainly crazy. To be honest with you, and it's not related to today's game necessarily, but I'm starting to think the Giants are the best team in that division at the moment, the way they're playing. So give Byron a little shout out there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know if you picked a winner or not today. That's what I was asking for, Keith.
Dallas
Dallas is going to win it.
Yeah.
Byron, same question for you. I mean, listen, I don't know if Dalton right now is playing better than Alex is. I really don't. I mean, I think he, even against the Giants when he threw them interceptions, I mean, he was carving the Giants' defensive backfield up there for a while. Alex Smith looks really good. He's been at the playoffs before. So has Dalton. But what do you think is going to happen? You think the Washington defense gets to Dalton today?
I don't think so. I think I just think Dallas gonna be on par today. I just feel that for some reason. I just think the receivers for the Cowboys are awesome. Even they utilize their quarterback. If Zeke can have a good game, they got to definitely have 100+ yards out of him today. And I just think Dallas just like they like the highlight. They know this is a national televised game, so and they playing a lot of national televised games. But I think Dallas will definitely have the edge. I think Andy Dalton is getting he's really gonna be on fire today, and I just love Alex Smith and his spirit of coming back and playing the game of football and what he had to go through. But I just think Dallas gonna be on fire today, and I just think that the receivers for the Cowboys gonna have a tremendous game.
Okay, Jack, what are your thoughts on that?
You look at the whole division: Daniel Jones, Carson Wentz, Andy Dalton. I would trust Alex Smith the most as my QB if I could just choose one guy. And Washington's defense is actually pretty good. But as Byron's saying, this is basically it for Dallas. They beat a very good Minnesota Viking team. Forget the Vikings' record. The Vikings had won a couple of games in a row. They were about to make their playoff push, and they got derailed by Dallas. And all of a sudden, the game the week before that, when Dallas gave Pittsburgh all they could handle, maybe indicates that the Cowboys finally have it all together. And if they do, and I'm going to guess that they really do, that they're going to win the game today. But this is basically it for the Cowboys. It's either mirage, what they've done the last couple of weeks, and they're just going to fall back, and it's going to be a dreadful season, or they're going to make a serious push to win the division. But I actually agree with Keith. The Giants seem to have the most upside at this moment, the team that seems to have it the most together, who's the most consistent. And the Eagles are a half game, which is actually one game ahead of everyone else. But you get the feeling the team that's in first place is chasing the teams behind them. That's the feeling you get, because the Eagles are snowballing in a bad way. And can they stop the slide or not, the Eagles? And my feeling is the answer's going to be no.
Well, guys, there's a couple things to be said about Dallas. Dallas has had the most talented wide receiving core, the most talented probably quarterback in the division. They had the best offensive line maybe in football for a while. Now they got a quarterback that has played well during the regular season. And everybody says Dallas, Dallas, Dallas every year. And every year they underachieve. And that's with their weapons and with their one of the better quarterbacks in the league and one of the best offensive lines in the league. So, I mean, to say Dallas can make a run right now, I don't. It just doesn't seem right, Keith. I don't know.
Well, again, you got to take the division into account, and you're right. I mean, for years they've had the most talent, and we thought it was maybe not we. Many people thought it was a Jason Garrett problem. Obviously, that's not the problem. But that division, and I don't even know that they're out of it if they lose today. Nobody's out of it in this division. They're fortunate they have to play each other 2 times so that they can get to 6 wins, maybe, or 7 to win the division. The Cowboys have as good a chance as anybody here. And again, Jerry Jones to me has been the problem there. He doesn't put people in place in the front office that he should. The Mike McCarthy hiring was a little iffy in my mind, but I don't know what they're going to need to turn it around. I don't know if they will while Jerry Jones is still owns the team.
Jerry's considered a meddler, but if he really was a meddler, how would Jason Garrett last so long?
Mm-hmm.
He has a track record of actually perhaps sticking with coaches. It's funny with the draft. Jerry Jones looked extremely happy when Lamb fell to him in the draft. And Lamb's been an elite receiver. How did he fall in the draft? It's like Jerry Jones knew something, like he really was getting a steal, which he did.
Well, he was out there on that yacht. They weren't in his office, so he was out on vacation in Miami or something like that when they drafted him.
Yeah, well,
But yeah, I don't know. I just think that Jerry Jones do need to have some football people, no doubt.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the Cowboys win the Super Bowl, but they win the division with a 6-10 record? And can you imagine Jerry Jones holding the Super Bowl trophy after 6-10 regular season?
I don't see it happening.
We laugh about it, but the way that the league is today, it could happen. But it's kind of far fetched, as Max said. So
yeah, well, fantasy, but
hey, Byron, with the Dallas receivers, they've always seemed, since I can remember that, Dak has been quarterback. They always seem to have a very, very talented receiving crew. I mean, even going back to their tight end who retired, but. I mean, with the addition of Lamb there, and Lamb made an unbelievable catch last Sunday, falling backwards, making I think it was a one-handed catch. I saw the highlight real quick. Does this make them almost unstoppable as far as defensive backs and the zone, man-to-man, whatever we want to play against them? It seems that they could burn you either way. Is this the most talented wide receiver crew in the league?
I think so, but just because of they have Lamb in the middle, and he's in that slot position, which opened up the whole offensive strategy. And usually defense usually double coverage one of the receivers. So typically, most of these receivers for the Dallas style of offense, you can't double cover one of the receivers. So that's why Lamb is so open, because he have those short routes. He can go in and out. And he can, whatever the defense give him, that's usually what he take. As long as the Lamb and the quarterback's on the same page, then he opened it up for the other two guys. And so it's just fun watching that offense. But hopefully they can continue to run those combination routes for those receivers, because then they throw in the tight end, and then sometimes they would throw the ball to Zeke or Pollard out the backfield, the running backs out the backfield. So it's kind of fun to watch them, because I think. They were more creative last week in their offensive game plan.
No one's talking about now the Dak Prescott contract situation. That's all we heard about for the longest time. Hypothetically, what do you guys think? If Andy Dalton plays really well the rest of the year, the Cowboys win the division, and let's say they win a playoff game, and Andy Dalton really looks good, what happens with the contract situation? Obviously, they'll still want Dak Prescott back over Andy Dalton, but they're not going to be willing to meet Dak Prescott's price, which means he's probably going to wind up going elsewhere. I mean, what do you think of that?
Go ahead, Keith. What do you think about that?
I'm not a big. I think Andy Dalton's, a decent NFL quarterback. He hasn't won a playoff game that I'm aware of, and I don't see him winning one this year. I don't see the Dallas Cowboys throwing all their chips in with Andy Dalton next year and leaving Dak Prescott out there. And
but
I
you
think
see them giving him the money, Zach.
Yeah, I personally think that his bargaining position has gotten better since he got hurt.
Wow.
That's my opinion.
Do you agree with that, Byron?
I agree with that. I think Jerry gonna go ahead and pay him. They were just going back and forth with 4 years versus 5 years, and the numbers and the things are on the wall for us. They got to pay him if they really want it, but I don't see them bringing any kind of quarterback in competing with that, because it takes so long to get your quarterback where you really want him. And I think right now Dak was playing such at a high rate in the last couple of years, and unfortunately he got hurt. But I just think Jerry's going to end up paying him.
Yeah, guys, let's look at Washington a little bit more. The Redskins, Rivera's the head coach. He had a bout with cancer. He's one of the best coaches in the league, I feel, especially with the job he did at Carolina. He's over there with the Redskins right now. You can just see from the year before how intense they are, how much more competitive they are. They got a great front four. Their linebackers aren't bad. Their running game needs a little work, but they do got Alex Smith there. And as you said, Keith, this division's wide open. Dallas has the easiest schedule, no doubt about it. Washington, though, they've already beaten, if I'm correct, Dallas once. Am I right? Or is this their first game? I know they've beaten the
They
Eagles.
beat them before, yeah.
Yeah, they
I
did
think
beat them.
so if Washington does beat Dallas, comes down to a tiebreaker, I mean, Washington has just a good shot as anybody. And with a coach that's been to the Super Bowl with the Panthers, I mean, I'm not counting Washington out of this game, guys. And I think they're going to have
anybody who sweeps the season series in this division is going to be in great shape come the end of the season, because those things will probably come into play.
Well, right now the Giants have the tie break with Washington. They beat them twice.
Yeah.
So if they finish even with Washington at the end of the year, the Giants get the tiebreaker. So
Yeah.
that's hanging over Washington's head.
I worry about Alex Smith. Alex Smith has played great football, and I just have concerns about that injury that he suffered.
Yeah.
And I guess the same concerns will be there with Dak when he comes back. But I don't even know that his, as gruesome as it was, Alex Smith's and what he went through afterward.
Yeah, wow.
Was just—it's an amazing story that he made it back to the field at all. And I say a little prayer for him whenever the game starts and he's in it, because I don't want to see that poor guy go through that again. So
I was amazed that Dwayne Haskins wasn't moved by Washington. And now, I mean, Dwayne Haskins would be the guy going in if Alex Smith had to go out. So the Washington season could conceivably hinge on Dwayne Haskins' performance going forward. You never know, which would be a heck of a story.
That would be something else. Byron, now let's look at the defensive backfield of Dallas. This is their biggest weakness. It's been their biggest weakness. The Washington Redskins have one really good receiver and some that are okay. So does Washington exploit that? I mean, their running game, like I said, is not the best, but they do have that one-star wide receiver, a good tight end, and a couple other receivers. Do you see Washington exploiting the Dallas defensive backfield?
Yeah, no doubt. Everybody have all year, so they are vulnerable in the secondary here in Dallas. I mean, they give up points. So I just think whoever scored might be whoever had the ball last win this game. But definitely Dallas still needs some defensive backs, some safeties. They just don't have no cover guys. But Washington are really going to be very competitive. It should be a good game today, entertaining. Hopefully it'll be a game that whoever had the ball last win the game.
There's another storyline no one talks about. When Andy Dalton suffered his concussion, that was against Washington, correct?
Correct.
And the Dallas players were heavily criticized for not coming to Andy Dalton's aid. So you better believe that offensive line is going to be very angry today. They're going to be extra protective of Andy Dalton, not just keeping the Redskin players away, but they're going to be in a fighting mood. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of flags are thrown that maybe you wouldn't see normal. And then, of course, there's that intangible losing. The Cowboys losing their strength and conditioning coach. I mean, Byron is a player. I know you have to departmentalize and block things out. Things like that could either bring you down or they could lift you up. But how do you react to something like that? Because you basically lost a coworker, and then you have to play so soon after during a mourning period.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're going to bring a lot of focus and dedication. I think the mindset, the Cowboys players should be, on fire about it. Even the coaching staff should be on, focus about it. So, and that's the edge that definitely comes with the game. I think when something like this happens, when you have a tragedy like this unexpectedly, the players usually respond real well when something like this happens.
Yeah, Keith, what do you? I was just going to ask that question. What Jack was talking about. What's to be said? I mean, they said it was a cheap hit against Dalton. I don't know if it was or not. I mean, it's hard to stop when you're going full speed, as anybody knows. And he goes and slides. the linebacker's going in low. He hits him in the head. But the offensive line did absolutely nothing. And they did hear about it. I know Byron spoke about it. That was on the radio and in the media all the time after that. Do you think this gives the Cowboys incentive on the line? Does it cause more penalties? Do they get over-aggressive? I mean, that could backfire.
It could backfire. I mean, yes, I would expect them to be more aggressive than they were with the criticism they took for not coming with their quarterback aid. But I don't think it's going to – you're going to get a couple of penalties out of it maybe, but I don't think it's going to be something that's going to affect the game overall.
So, guys, that's the Redskins in Dallas. I mean, these guys are not the Redskins. This is Washington now. I'm still old school. I'm still calling them the Redskins.
Mac,
Formerly known as the Redskins. That's what I call them every week.
Mac wanted to talk about the Ravens-Steeler game. We had that planned. I mean, and it's I'll tell you, if their strength and conditioning coach on the Ravens or whoever is involved with the Ravens wasn't wearing a mask and some players came down with COVID, if he wasn't following team protocol, there should be severe penalties. I mean, he should be, suspended 5 years or something from the league if he blatantly didn't follow the rules he was supposed to, and that caused this game to get delayed. Because the NFL is not happy. This was a great primetime game for Thanksgiving.
Well, guys,
now.
Before we get that, Jack, jump the gun a little bit there. We're gonna have another trivia question because I love trivia questions, and a Thanksgiving trivia question is more fun than anything else.
Let me turn the volume up this time so I can hear the question.
I love it. So, guys, we're going to go to the NFL for that. I'm not going to go back to college football and try and stump you off that way. So, we're going to go after the first Thanksgiving game. What did the Portsmouth Spartans change their name to? That's the first Thanksgiving game guys ever played. It was the Portsmouth Spartans was one of the teams. I'll get to the other one later. What did they change their name to? What team did they become?
I'm glad you guys are on this show for the trivia questions. So I could go last. After you two miss the answer, I can miss the answer. I don't know.
As you all know, the teams that first began in the NFL, they had some crazy names. They were named after clubs. They were named after associations. One was called the Portsmouth Spartans, and they changed their name after the first Thanksgiving game. And
I think Mac got us one of those semi-pro teams that play in West Virginia somewhere.
I was going to say, where is Portsmouth that we're referring to?
No, that would give away the whole answer.
All right, I figured it.
If I was to give all you NFL analysts a tip here, of course today
I got an answer.
Okay, they are an NFL team. Go ahead. What'd you say, Keith?
Washington Redskins.
Byron, you got a guess?
I really don't got a guess. I wore my hat to celebrate Matt and Coach Tom Landry today.
Oh, that's great.
That's nice. You look stylish.
I don't have an answer.
I mean, you don't even have a guess. I mean, think about Thanksgiving football, guys. Come on.
Oh, Thanksgiving football?
Yeah.
Detroit Lions.
There would be no skill involved. If any of us got it right, Mac, it would be strictly a guess. It wouldn't mean that you really knew the answer.
Okay, so far we got two Detroits, Jack. What do you say? Because, I mean, you either go with the crowd and lose or win.
Detroit and Cleveland, I have no idea.
Well, you can't do two teams, Jack.
I don't know. I admit it, I don't know the answer. Why are you torturing me? I have no clue over this crazy question.
I picked the NFC Central.
I'm asking you one question, Jack, not two answers.
And I told you I don't know, Mac. I can admit when I don't know something.
Well, Jack, you should have went along with the crowd.
Portsmouth what?
You should have went along with the crowd, Jack, because the correct answer, of course, is the Detroit Lions. So, guys, what I want to do, if you can stick around for a couple of minutes, I want to take a quick break. I got to take care of a couple things in the next 3 minutes. If you could stick around, we'll be back and we'll break down the Baltimore Ravens and the Detroit Lions. Can you guys stick around with us for one?
Sure.
Okay, are you, Byron? You good?
Well, it's my Ravens and Pittsburgh Steelers, I think you mean.
Hey, man.
What did I say? Yeah.
See if you can find me a relief quarterback while you take
We got them. We got them all over the league.
Yeah, and that worked out really good for the Dolphins when they put Fitzpatrick in. We'll be back right after this, folks. You guys are great. Oh, Jesus.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics in America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Info Line. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight.
Hey, have a second. Remind me about that party again.
Alex is just
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle's one of the kids got caught drinking beer a couple of nights ago. Yeah, 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I made it clear to Matt, that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try to change.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Right.
How you all doing today? Welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on every Wednesday through Sunday at 8 to 10 a.m. We're here with our football special today, our Thanksgiving football special, with two of our favorite guests that come on Friday. Keith Engle from TGI Sports Talk, the host of that show, a very popular show. If you get a chance, go on over and check him out. He does a great job over there. And Byron Williams, who has been all over football. He's been in the National Football League, drafted by the Packers, played for the Giants, the Eagles, the Colts, and I know there's one other team, Byron, I'm leaving out that you had a brief stint with. You also was in the CFL for quite a while, played in the World Football League where you were the #1 receiver with 11 touchdowns in 1 year, Byron. So Byron, the great Byron Williams.
Byron, did you play in the USFL?
I was drafted by the Denver Gold, but I didn't play. I was drafted in that 83 class.
Right. So Byron's been all around. He does some great work in the community over there in the Dallas area with young kids. He's got a camp. Both of these guys are on our website at macandjack.com. It's called Mac Sports Insiders. Go there. You'll see some vlogs by Keith. You'll see Byron's camp, Best Wishes. Correct, Byron? Where you can go in there and you can help support him and his cause. He runs football camps. He's been doing it for a long time. What's going on with that? The camp down in Tampa. Are we still going? Are you still on for that, Byron?
Yeah, we still planning that. Of course, we still got to see what this pandemic situation is, but we know we're gonna go and do a free camp in one of the areas in Tampa at the Super Bowl. So we still planning on that. I'm working with a couple of guys. That guy named James Harrell, that used to play with Detroit. He's the president of the NFLPA chapter down there, and he helped me coordinate some things because he lived there.
And you had some really big players at your camp, former football players, correct, Byron?
Yeah, we'll definitely have former football players there. We talking to some guys that usually be there. And while they're there, we just take advantage of them being in the city during that particular time during Super Bowl week.
Now, in the camp, Byron, I want to touch on it for a minute. Is this like a touch football game you play or flag football where the kids go out? Do you teach them drills? Do you do and have like inspirational discussions, stuff like that?
We do, yeah. We put them through like a little combine setting. Then at the end we have a little draft where we split them up in teams. And they compete a little bit, and then we give out trophies and goodie bags, as well as we have guys come in and do motivational speaking in between, our little scheduled events for us. We'll do leg drill, speed drill, and then we have guys come in and do a motivational speaking for about 5 minutes, and then we go back out there on the field. So it's real precise. We just be out there for about 2 to 3 hours, because we can't take up too much time because of the scheduling of all the events.
Right. And Keith, what's the latest vlog you did so people can tune in, check it out? His vlogs are very popular too, along with his podcast. Keith, what did you discuss on your last vlog so you can kind of give them a highlight of what they're going to go through?
Well, yesterday I did a vlog that was really centric to Thanksgiving and the tough year that we've had, and all the people have been affected by COVID-19, whether they've lost loved ones or friends or their jobs been affected. And even with all that, all the things that we do have to be thankful for in this country. So it wasn't necessarily, and then sports is one of those things, by the way, in my mind, because it's important to the fabric of this country, as we've talked about before. So it's basically was just, geared around all the things that we do still have to be thankful for, even the trying times that we're having right now in this country on a lot of levels. But we're very resilient as a country, and I'm confident that we can, battle through these things in the right way.
So folks out there, go ahead and check out Byron Williams' camp. He's on the website, and so is Keith with his vlogs, and very busy people that do a lot of good. Byron for his community, and Keith with his breakdown of a lot of different sports.
I would add real quick, Mac, too. I would add Byron and people like Byron to my list of things to be thankful for, that they're working with the youth in the communities to, again, it's so important that with a lot of the things going on in the country, that we have people like Byron that are working within the youth communities on the right track.
I was just going to say, yesterday I was on the phone with a group of students down in Miami, Florida, and I got a superhero book out called The Number 87. And these kids go to a superhero academy school in Miami, and we was talking about living our dreams, exactly what Keith was talking about. So kids can live out their dreams because they're all of us dream. So my superhero book is all about doing the right things in the community, enlightening each other, and keeping a clean community. One year we went out and just picked up trash throughout the community, things like that. So we try to tell these young people to continue to stay positive and don't get caught up with all this other stuff that's going on, but just definitely focus on your talents and your gifts and your abilities, and you can really make a big difference in our society.
Yeah, Byron was mentioned as a giant in the Texas area. I kind of play on words, him being a former giant, and in the community, the work he does. So let's get to the last game. We've got a few minutes left, guys. The Ravens and Steelers have been moved, but we can still talk about them a little bit. Definitely playoff applications. The Steelers are undefeated. The Ravens have been slipping out of the playoff picture. Definitely more important to the Ravens, I think, than the Steelers. But can they beat an overall, what I feel, an overall better team, the Steelers? All right, we'll go to you first, Keith. What are your thoughts on this game that now has been moved to Sunday?
I know that obviously the Ravens are 16 players, I think, were affected by COVID-19. The last I heard, I don't know if they were all tested positive or they were just in protocol. But that's going to have a huge effect. The Pittsburgh's already got their number a little bit. They played once. It's hard to sweep series, as we know, especially amongst good teams. But Lamar Jackson has struggled a little bit against better defenses, and I like the Steelers in this game because of that, and because of everything else going around the whole health of the Ravens roster in general.
Yeah, Byron, what do you think about that? I mean, it seems that the Steelers have a very physical team. They get to the ball fast, and they seem to control Jackson. You're not going to stop him, but they control him just as good as any team in the league. Do you think that the Ravens have a chance here?
Yeah, if they can bring back the same defense they had last year. They had awesome defense last year, and it's Pittsburgh defense right now just playing outstanding football. And you got to play almost a perfect game in order to beat the Steelers right now because of the opportunity that they have with all the talent they have on defense. But if the Ravens can pull some tricks out of their hats and play a defense, have the same defensive chemistry that they had last year, then the Ravens will be in this game. And the good thing about being playing in a conference games like what the Ravens and the Steelers have, these teams know each other know each other real well. So hopefully we'll see a good game.
Jack,
I'll tell you, every year you have two things that stand out in the NFL. There'll be a couple of teams that are going to be decimated by injuries, and they're going to have their hopes dashed. I mean, teams that were thought to be arguably Super Bowl contenders, and you're going to have at least one team that injuries aren't the reason. Just the chemistry goes bad on the team. And they're just not the team you thought they were going to be. They might get off to a good start, and then you see it crumbling little by little. And I think that team this year is the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, that big game isn't against the Steelers. It was against Tennessee, in which they lost the heartbreaker. And I don't think they're recovering from that. I mean, they're 6-4 now. I think when all's said and done, the Baltimore Ravens either going to be 8-8 or 9-7, not make the playoffs, and it's going to be a colossal disappointment. And then they're going to have to regroup. Was this year just a little bit of an aberration, or what are they going to do moving forward? How are they going to address this situation? Less than Lamar Jackson, what Byron mentioned, their defense has been a disappointment. I think that's been the story of the year for them so far. Not anything with Lamar Jackson, with the play calling and so on.
One other thing and I should mention, and I mentioned this on my Sunday show last week, that one of the most underrated coaches in my mind in the game in the last couple of decades is Mike Tomlin and the job that he does year after year. They've had a couple of down years, but not many. And that organization, we talked about Jerry Jones being sticking with coaches, 3 coaches in 50 years.
Oh, unbelievable.
You don't see that.
Yeah.
I mean,
we-
Coach Tomlin, the way he has the respect of the players, the organization, he's a generational coach, not
Yeah.
really given all the credit he
He
deserves.
does not get the credit for sure.
And what were you going to say, Byron, real quick before we cut out?
I was just gonna say, look at Baltimore. They brought Dez Bryant in last week, and he caught four balls, maybe 15 yards. Why do you have a player on your roster and you only having 15 yards out of 4 catches? I mean, to me, that terminology, that their game planning is not there. You just don't have the chance of winning games just by throwing a receiver 4. He catch the ball 4 times and only have 15 yards. That don't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Definitely agree with that. Guys, I want to thank you for coming in. That hour flew by.
Thanks, guys.
We enjoy having you every Friday, and thank you for coming in today on Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to both of you. And tomorrow, we'll see you back again. We'll have Byron at 8:30, Keith up at 9, and there'll be our weekend review show. So, folks, have a great day. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Enjoy it with you
Happy
and yours.
Thanksgiving. Like the hat, Byron.
Yes.
Good job.
Hey, listen, he's joining the club, Jack. We all need hats.
Well, his hat's a little more stylish than yours, Mac. Yours is old school, Mac. His is modern. That's the difference. They're both nice.
Oh, my
One's
God, Jack.
one's,
Yeah. For once,
up with the times a little more. Yours is like a 1940s, 1950s. Yeah.
I chased a Jamaican 5 blocks for
I
this.
still like it, Mac. I still like it.
Hey, guys, have a great Thanksgiving. Watchers who've been watching, have a great Thanksgiving. Take care, folks, and thanks for tuning in.
Take care, guys.
Stay safe and enjoy.
Good Thanksgiving. Enjoy the games.